Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the absolutely fascinating story of how raw computational artificial intelligence transforms into the helpful, polite assistants we use every single day. We're going to treat this almost like a documentary of a brilliant but entirely untrained mind and watch exactly how it gets educated. So, have you ever actually thought about this? Why does ChatGPT feel so conversational? Why doesn't it just bark cold, hard data at you? Well, the reality is, raw intelligence alone is not enough. Modern AI assistants have to actually learn human judgment, cooperation, and our preferences through an incredibly rigorous process called post-training. And honestly, this alignment process is quite literally one of the defining engineering challenges of modern AI.
Okay, let's start with section 1, the brilliant untrained prodigy.
Let's meet our subject. I want you to think of a base, pre-trained language model as this exceptionally gifted student who has practically memorized the entire internet, but has never actually spoken to another human being. This initial phase is called pre-training. The AI digests just vast amounts of text and learns language simply by predicting missing words. So this student knows enormous amounts of information, but without guidance, it fundamentally lacks human judgment. It knows the data, sure, but it has absolutely no idea what we actually want to do with that data. And this comparison wonderfully illustrates the difference. If you ask a raw base model a question, it might literally just repeat your prompt back to you. Or, maybe it generates some random internet comment thread it memorized. It's wildly unpredictable. But a post-trained model, it gives you a polite, structured, and genuinely helpful answer. It acts like a dedicated assistant, rather than just a giant encyclopedia with a missing index. Because without this post-training, our raw talent is actually a bit of a liability. It will boldly ignore your direct instructions. It might produce totally unsafe or highly biased responses because, let's face it, it's just mirroring the wild west of the internet. It demonstrates wildly inconsistent behavior and is highly prone to hallucinations, basically just confidently making things up just to finish a sentence. So, how do we fix this? Which brings us to section 2, learning through human teachers. To fix those critical flaws, our AI student has to enter the classroom. We start with a phase that relies entirely on human teachers actively demonstrating ideal behavior. This is called Supervised Fine-Tuning, or SFT. We take that pre-trained model and train it further on a smaller, highly curated dataset of perfect labeled input-output pairs. This is the bedrock technique. It teaches the model exactly how to format its vast knowledge into high-quality conversations. We are literally showing it, hey, here is exactly how a good assistant responds. Seeing this in action is just fascinating. Take a look at the base model on the left. Given a storage workload input, it outputs something super verbose and uncertain. We're talking only about a 12% confidence level. But after supervised fine-tuning with about 1,400 examples, the model on the right confidently and precisely outputs OLTP database with 93% confidence. Boom, it learned the exact behavior we wanted. This really boils down to a very simple yet powerful rule. When you see this input, produce this output. SFT is what teaches the AI behavioral consistency. It's the exact technique that turned base models into the recognizable, specialized assistants that we use every day. But as our student grows up, rote memorization of templates just isn't enough anymore. Let's move to section 3, coaching with human feedback. You see, a teacher's strict templates are great for clear-cut tasks, but they fall totally short for complex, open-ended, nuanced interactions. Our student now needs a coach to develop true judgment and taste. Enter reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF. This is the breakthrough technique that made ChatGPT a global phenomenon. Instead of just handing the AI the right answer, RLHF acts as a coach, scoring the AI based on what we humans actually value, things like helpfulness, harmlessness, and honesty. Here's how this coaching process actually builds. Step 1, the AI generates several different candidate responses to a single question. Step 2, real, live humans look at these options and rank them from best to worst. Step 3, those rankings train a reward model. We then use a reinforcement learning algorithm, specifically one called PPO, to essentially bake that human preference directly into the AI's internal compass. It literally learns how to be preferred. However, this coaching is definitely not a magic wand. It relies on massive, incredibly expensive human annotation campaigns. I mean, imagine paying thousands of people to rank AI outputs all day long. Plus, the PPO algorithm itself is highly complex and extremely compute-intensive. And relying on subjective human preferences makes this a very difficult, costly engineering bottleneck to try and scale.
Next up is Section 4, Enterprise AI and its limits. Now, once our student graduates, they often enter the corporate world. And as you might guess, enterprise alignment introduces a whole new set of really rigid expectations compared to your standard consumer chatbots. Businesses can't just have a chatbot that's generally helpful. They need strict domain adaptation. They need the model to understand highly specific industry terminology, mandate output formatting, like returning data in a perfectly structured JSON format, and strictly adhere to corporate compliance. The stakes jump up significantly.
Yet, even with all the schooling, the SFT, and the RLHF, alignment can still fail under pressure. We see things like over-refusal, where the AI gets too scared to answer a completely safe question. We see reward hacking, where the AI figures out how to game the system to get a high score without actually being helpful. They remain vulnerable to clever user jailbreaks. They still hallucinate sometimes. And occasionally, they exhibit sycophancy, which is basically just the AI telling the user what they want to hear rather than the actual truth. So yeah, alignment is very much an ongoing battle.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the future of AI. To solve these persistent failures and get around the massive cost of human feedback, the curriculum for our AI student is rapidly evolving. We're currently shifting toward RLHF, reinforcement learning from AI feedback, and DPO, direct preference optimization. Notice the shift in the table here. Instead of humans ranking the outputs, we use strong, established AI models to generate the preferences. This drops the cost dramatically, it streamlines the complex optimization, and it makes the whole alignment process highly scalable. Ultimately, we're witnessing a complete paradigm shift. We're moving away from static models that are just frozen in time the day they finish training. The model of the future is not trained and then deployed. It's deployed in order to learn. We're moving towards systems capable of continual learning, absorbing new knowledge, and literally self-improving in the real world. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought from the researchers at Anthropic. As AI becomes more capable, human feedback naturally becomes the ultimate bottleneck. If humans can't review code or experiments as fast as an AI can generate them, what happens to alignment when AI begins recursively improving itself? We've taught them to be helpful, but the next defining challenge is ensuring they stay aligned as they teach themselves. This journey leaves us with 3 profound truths to take away. First, pre-training teaches a model what language looks like, but post-training teaches it how to actually use that knowledge in ways people value. Second, human feedback transformed large language models into conversational assistants, but alignment remains an ongoing challenge, not a perfectly solved problem. And third, the future of AI depends not only on making models more capable, but on continually improving how they learn human values, preferences, and responsible behavior. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you a whole new perspective on the brilliant trained minds you chat with every day.